Hey, so I wanted to make a video that sort of illustrates how I trade and the tools that I've built to do my trading. I think this will be probably a two-parter because first I want to focus on what you see here on the right, which is a trading application that I've built from the ground up. Been working on it for years. And then second, I kind of wanted to focus over here on TradingView where I custom code a lot of indicators that help me to make my trades. So first of all, starting over here with this application, this is just a web application. It's built with React.js, and it's just a responsive app that does lots of different things. And originally when I built it, the very first thing it did was this little corner of the application up here. And the reason I started building an application wasn't because I thought this was going to happen, what you see here in front of you, because this is kind of crazy. But I just had a really simple problem I wanted to solve. It started out with, I really hated how every single broker made it so difficult to execute trades. So for example, say I want to get long something with a stop in place. Okay, so they have bracket orders that let me do that, and I can put an order in place. And once the fill gets filled, then let's say that I'm in profit and now I want to take some profit, but I want to do it quickly. Like we're trading intraday and we get a rapid move up from where I entered, for example. And I just want to go like, I very quickly want to be able to say sell half or sell a third or sell a quarter or whatever, like sell some portion, but I can't do that. The steps are I need to first adjust my stop, so reduce the size of shares that are in my stop to account for the ones that I'm about to try to sell, and then I need to go sell those shares, and that's the steps I need to take. But to do that, it's like I'm going into their application and I'm like clicking through. There's many different steps in the process to find the place where you need to do it, figure out how many shares to do, put in the amount of shares, put in the price you want it to be at now if you want to adjust the stop, make that change, then go reset the form, go enter the new number of shares you want to sell, be looking at the chart, trying to figure out where should your limit be if you're going to limit, or just hit market if it's moving too quickly. And I found that sometimes it would even happen where it's going so slowly, like the process takes me so long that by the time I'm finished, even just adjusting the stop amount, I'm already losing now on maybe it even went below the stop that I just adjusted because it had a rapid flush down. Like, so that could happen, and it did happen. And I was like, God, this sucks. Like, why did they make it so difficult? Why? It's like the trading platforms are built they're one more thing that have the odds stacked against you. And I thought to myself, well, I'm a software developer. Like, that was what I did before I did this. And so I should find a way to solve these little problems that occur in trading where there's so many different roadblocks, so many things that make it difficult for you to succeed. And anything I can do to just sort of scratch away at that and pull a little bit of back and make it just a little bit easier, I should do that. So the very first thing I did was make this application, and it was just a very simple tool. And I think at the time, it was an input like this, where I choose a direction, order type, stop loss, take profit, and I could send the order. That was just to get the order sent. And then eventually I got it to the point where I had this version of it here, which lets me, I'll explain what it does in a minute, but essentially it lets me solve some of those problems I just described. So let me explain how this thing works, and then it'll all kind of make more sense. So I'm literally just talking about this little area up here. You don't need to look at any of the other stuff going on. And this is my trade area. So I'm looking at NVIDIA. I have an advanced set of inputs where this is more like we would see on a traditional broker where there's a bunch of inputs and stuff like that. But this is my execute quickly version. And so you see this risk 10%, and I've got a 10% here, 25% here, and 50% here. Well, 10%, 25, and 50% of what? That's the percent of my daily stop that I'm willing to risk on any given trade. And so the other thing I'll say up front is that for the purposes of this video, I've adjusted this to show a budget of $100,000. So this is the budget that I've told the app I'm willing to spend on, and like 100,000 is the max I will spend on a trade. Now, for a lot of the people that look at this, that might look like a lot of money, and to a lot of people that look at this, that might look like nothing. And so I realize I'm talking to a broad audience of people here and traders of every size and shape. But just so you understand, this is what I'm talking about for a budget for the purpose of this video. So a stop of this of $100,000, my daily stop would be $1,000 if I'm risking 1%, right? And so, is that right? 100,000? Yeah, that's right. And so this here is 50% is like I'm willing to risk losing $500, 50% of my daily stop if I click this button and on the video. And I'm willing to risk 25% of my daily stop if I click this button, 10% if I click this button. And then I also have this drop down that lets me, this is really just controls this input here. There's some weird stuff in the app, but that's basically what it does. If I change this to 25, then this over here is going to switch at some point here to 25. There it is, 25. And so I can just, it's just a custom input. I could even go like, on this one, I want to make it like risk 100% of my daily stop. And that's, so if I was going to do that, let's just put this back to 10. So say I wanted to risk 50% of my daily stop. I click this button and it's now put into the share amount 173 shares, which would be 49.9% of my daily stop, with a stop that is 2.2% below the current price, right? Because I'm tracking the current price in real time. So right now we're looking at NVIDIA, and I've got this these blue lines here that show me the percent. I call this percent from price, and so it's just giving me an eyeball of where is price right now and how far away are certain things. 1% is down here, right? 0.5% is here. So I can look at this and I can eyeball, down below this level here would be 0.6%-ish. So I put 0.6 in there. I want to risk 10% of a daily stop. I click that. And then that's 127 shares will be 9.99% if it hits that stop. At that point, then I can click this button here to go long market, and that'll just mark it by right there, and it'll put a stop in right there. I don't do market almost ever. The only reason I would ever do market is if something is running super fast and I'm chasing. But most of the time I'm using hit take, which is basically it's 1311. That'd be the ask plus one. Split is split the bid and the ask. Join is join basically one above the bid. And then down here I've got the short area, so if I want to short, I can join at the short, split at the short, hit take, or mark it into a position there as well. And so these are just quick buttons. So I'm always, depending on how price is moving, depending on the spread of the stock, I'll choose which of these buttons I'm going to click to get in. I very rarely go back and do what I did before, where I'm manually putting in prices. I just have this like very quickly. I'm looking at the chart over here, and I'm getting into the trades by clicking these buttons. Once I'm in a trade and I have a position, I used to have it so that clicking these buttons would get me out. But I changed that because really I want to just be able to hotkey in and out of stuff. And I have it set up so that if I press the shift button and press 1, the number 1, that will sell 100% of the position that I'm in. Whether it's long or short, that just gets me out 100% of the shares. If I do shift 2, that'll sell half. Shift 3 will sell a third. Shift 4 will sell a fourth. Shift 5 will sell a fifth, and so on. And if I do shift 0, it will like just sell a sliver. Like if something's just, if I'm trying to like very slowly just get out of a position, I'll just be like shift 0 so it makes a little spike, shift 0 so it makes another spike, just sell a little bit, sell a little bit, sell a little bit. There's all kinds of ways you can play it. I also have it where sometimes, say I'm scaling into a trade, I might join it and say I have a 0.6% stop, right? So I initiate a trade with a 0.6% stop, and then it goes a little bit lower. I want to get in again. It hasn't yet gotten to my stop, so I might adjust this. I might just leave it at 0.6, or I might adjust it lower because the stop's going to be tighter. I hit again to double down on the position, and now I've got one position with 2 stops, right? And so if I have a hotkey where if I go Control Delete when that happens, it chooses the tighter of the 2 stops and adjoins them as one. gets rid of the additional stop and just makes them one stop together. So there's all these little things that I do. And the real magic though is when I hit the sell, if I say I want to sell half of a position and I've got a stop in place, that shift 2 adjusts the stop to reduce its size and does the sell at the same time. So I don't have to take all those steps that I had to take with the other brokers. It's very, very fast to get in and out of trades, and I always have a stop in place. I'm never without a stop. And so that was like one of the very first big wins that I ever had with this was, it allows me to control my risk, to look at what's my budget I'm giving myself on any given day to trade with. Of that, how much am I willing to risk? And then if I'm looking at a specific trade setup, depending on the trade setup and depending on the conditions of the market, I want to risk more or less. Maybe I'm risking half of a day loser, or I'm risking quarter of a day loser, or whatever. But that's all stuff that I can very quickly do, and I do not need to ever think about how many shares I need to buy. Right? I'm not even looking at the number that goes in here. I'm looking at the percent that I'm going to win or lose, and I'm not thinking about dollar amounts. I'm just thinking about what percent of my risk am I willing to lose on this trade. And so there's so much that goes into that too, right? Like, it's removed a bunch of the friction that I used to have to face and just calculating stuff in my head. Now all that is taken care of by the app. But also I don't even need to think about how much money I'm risking. I just think about, I have a set amount that I'm budgeting for, and I'm just up or down percentages on the day. And you can see today I was just scalping around here on this account, and I'm at like a minus 2% loss. So my daily stop minus 2%, which is nothing. It's like literally, it's nothing. And that's fine, because today I had no conviction in anything. I was just kind of practicing stuff, and that's why the size was so low. But in a nutshell, that's kind of what this whole area up here does, right? And this, for the longest time, this was all the application was this thing up here. And over time, I've added and added and added and added. One of the most recent adds, which I wish that I had done sooner, is this Plan the Trade button, which essentially, if I click that button, I have a number of setups that I trade regularly, and I have been managing this over time. But the idea is that I don't actually want to be in a trade if it doesn't fit one of the trade setups that I want to trade, because I want to get better and better at those specific setups. I don't just want to trade randomly. And so when you see this little question mark icon here, that's the plan icon. So I have not yet selected what the plan was when I did these, but the idea is, like NVIDIA, for example, today was a level burner that I tried. And I click that level burner, and then it says level burner on there now. So I can look at this and just quickly see, oh yeah, and as I'm doing my review later, like NVIDIA was a level burner trade, which is a name that I came up with for a specific trade that I do. Tesla today was also actually a level burner. And BP was an oversold for higher low trade. And I can put more details into the plan here, and it'll then put that on the up here. I can read the details as I click in, and I can just look and see what was my plan on this, because a lot of the time with these trade setups, I need to put, like, when I initiate the trade, I'm doing it because I see something, right? And I'm like, I'm right if this happens, and I'm wrong if that happens, and I'll write that kind of stuff in here, so that later in the day when I come back and I'm like, oh my God, it looks like I should get out, I can look back and see, wait, what was I thinking when I first did this? And is that invalidated or not? And that can help me to stay in trades longer, or cut them early if things are negating what I was thinking. So that's just, like, in a nutshell, that's what I see. The tickers that I've traded today, I see the P&L that I've had, I also see the plan that I've made. I have the executions in here. If I click this, I can see all of the executions that I made, what position I was up or down, the P&L along the way, in terms of percent of my daily stop that I've won or lost, or I can switch it to dollars, or I can just hide it completely. Of course, then the next logical step for a trader is, well, how do you do your reviews? Well, I have this review area and I can make this bigger, and it basically grabs the executions from the day. I can navigate to previous days and grab all the executions and then import them into a different application where I do my trade review. I use traderview.com. And then I can just like see more of the things here. So I can look at the trade history for specific things here on this page as well. If I need to check in on stuff, yada, yada, yada. And so in a nutshell, that's how I do all of my trading using this tool here. But the really cool thing I wanted to talk about is what I've been working on lately. So let me jump back over to NVIDIA because it trades with a lot bigger size. So this over here is level 2, and I've been using level 2 on different services, and let's face it, like tape reading is really hard, right? And I'd realized every time I was tape reading, things would happen so quickly, and I was always like, oh, I wish I could see what that was. Like, how much was that exactly? What price was that at? I'd see there'd been a big number briefly, but I couldn't remember what it was, or it would be so fast that I had missed it. Or if you glance away to look at something over here, you miss something key over there, right? And so I thought, oh, if only the thing had at least just a short memory of what was going on, and also if it could track, what is the average thing that's happening, and when you see something that's happening that's not average, like if you see a huge order block somewhere, color that differently, like make it look different to me. And so here on the bid and the ask, you can see that I've got right now this is LTSE 200 129.41. Now it just so happens this one is sticking here right now, so you can see it down here as well. So there's a big order block of this is divided by 100, so that's 200 or 20,000 shares on the bid here at 129.41 for NVIDIA. So somebody down here has got a giant block, and they're at least hinting that they've got some support down here. And then at the same time, on the other side, they've got on the ask, they've got it at 132.99. They've got 100 shares or 100 block. On the ask, 132.99, somewhere up here. And so they're playing either side. They want to get long, they want to get short, whatever. So this is stuff that now I can just quickly visually see here. But what really matters is when you get to a key level, like let's say we were getting towards the low of prior day, somewhere down here. Let me just put on one of my indicators. So low of prior day is down there. There it is. YLOD. So let's say we were coming down, and it looks like we might come down and test the low of prior day, right? There's probably going to be a bunch of support there. Probably. And I want to be able to see it on the level 2, and I want to see what's happening in real time on the level 2, right? And this will, of course, color things differently based on if they're big orders there, I'll see them. And also if they happen quickly, like if they come and go really fast, if price is moving really fast, but there's big things coming and going, they'll appear here, and not just one, it'll do a maximum of 3, and it'll choose the most recent 3 big out of the ordinary bids or asks that it sees. It'll put them up there, and after some period of time, I think it's 15 seconds or something like that, they'll expire. And so unless it gets refreshed, of course. And so that allows me to see, are there any big blocks sitting on the bid or the ask right now? And so then I can see, no matter how fast this stuff is going, it'll hold them there for me and I can see. And it also does it where after, I think, 5 seconds, it changes the color of them, so I know, oh, they're getting older, they're getting stale, right? Over here on the time and sales, it's the same sort of thing where you can see as they're flying by, I color things if they're abnormally large. So we've been getting a lot of small orders, and then there's a 25. I don't know why it's saying a 3 is big, but there's a 33, right? Here's a 30, 38. And anytime it gets one that's bigger than the average has been, it also retains 3 at the top here. I'm still working on this one. I'm tinkering with it a bit, where I might change it now to, it already does what I call stacking, where if a bunch of orders are coming in at the same price, it'll stack them together. And so that'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. So they're at 130.80, it had been stacking them, and they got up to, hundreds had been traded there. I can't remember what the number was exactly, but I'm thinking about adjusting this a bit more to A, allow more of these to show, and B, hold on to the bigger ones until they expire, because there's an expiry on these as well. So that I can see, are there a bunch of sales going through, trades going through at a specific price, and they're stacking there. So more and more and more, because that'll basically show me repeat sellers or repeat buyers, right? And so that's the idea with that. It just allows me to quickly see, especially say I see a big thing on the bid or the ask over here, and then I'm wondering, did that get filled? But this is going so fast I can't see. It'll show me, it'll hold on to it there, and I'll see the big ones go through. And so, for example, the other day I had it happen where I was watching Apple come up to a certain price, and I saw that there was a huge ask above that level, this daily level. And I was like, oh man, that thing's going to need to fill. And it was much bigger than anything else that had been going through. I don't know how Apple's going to get through that. And I was watching. And then right when Apple got to that level and pushed through it, it dropped off the ask and nothing showed on here. So I knew that person just pulled their ask and price shot through. So they were faking us out. They were punking us, right? And so you just get to see that stuff so much more easy when you have just a little bit of nuance, a little bit of adjustment to how this stuff works. Up here, I've got a couple of different buttons here. So this one's called Detect L2 Anomalies, and this is basically the coloring of these things that turns that on or off. So right now it's detecting them. I can click that and it'll stop. You see they stopped changing all the colors of things. And the reason that I do this is sometimes you're trading something like a good example would be NVIDIA or Tesla, where it's trading so much so fast that my application processing this stuff in real time and saving extra information and manipulating it, it'll cause the application to slow down. And sometimes executions are more important to me than seeing this information. So I just have this is just a quick off. Like if things are going way too fast and my application starts to feel sluggish, I can click that button and boom, it's fast again. And so that's one. I have the stacking trades button, which basically is if a bunch of orders are coming through at the same price, it'll stack them together. So it slows the tape down a little bit. So instead of a bunch of orders at 130.98 just flying by over and over, all these like one lots flying through, it'll actually stack them all up. The line will say 1, and it'll change to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it'll change the line value instead of just pushing more and more down. That's stacking trades, and then of course I have filtering as well. So right now it's set to 0, and I can change this to however many I want. So these are in lots. I can change this to, let's say I put it up to 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, any trades less than 8 will not show. And you see how the tape slowed down, right? So I'm just saying, like, say there's something that's trading a lot of shares and I just want to filter out the noise and I want to see it a little bit slower. This filter will allow me to do that. It just slows things down a little bit so I can just see the bigger orders coming through. The problem with that is that I like to see the speed. There's something about knowing the tempo of trading, right? So like right now NVIDIA is chopping sideways and you can see it's not really going fast. But if it broke through a level, things would really start to go and you'd start to see flashes of green or flashes of red. And that stuff I kind of like to see as well. So it's, I'm still sort of tinkering. Is this something I really want to have in there or not? And so that's the time and sales and the level 2 changes that I've made. This is more recent, and I use this a lot in my recent trades, and it has definitely helped with my tape reading. I feel like I've definitely got an advantage over a bunch of what you get with the regular brokers that you trade with. Finally, I have some notes down here. I have information on streams that I've got open that are, this is basically, as a developer, stuff that helps me debug in real time what's going on with the application. I have all of these different types of logs that are happening in real time as stuff is going on with the streams and everything. So this was just as I was developing it, this information helped me to debug what was going on. And again, it's kind of cool to build an application that's purely for me, right? And I get to not be concerned with how it looks. It's not the prettiest application, but it serves the purpose that I need it to serve, which is giving me an edge that I wouldn't have had otherwise. All of this stuff is stuff that I've been adding and removing and adjusting and trying over the course of the last 4 years that I've been building it. So it's a lot of effort that has gone in to make this thing work. But yeah, so that's in a nutshell how I trade. There's more to the application, but I have a technical analysis tab here where I've got a bunch of TA code that I've written, so code that actually like evaluates chart patterns and finds setups on the daily time frame and others. And I've got this flow section here that allows me to figure out sizing for flow trades that I might be interested in. So those are certain things that I'm practicing or tinkering with. But this is the meat of what I have built and where I spend most of my time. So that's the first half of this series that I'm making. The second half is going to come next, which is the TradingView indicators that I've written and how I use them. And I'll stop it there. Thanks for watching.